along to the rest of the show. So the next thing is, so right during in the midst of that, AEW has announced All In Weekend, but now they have announced All Out Weekend, which is the following weekend, I believe, from All In, and it's going to be in Chicago. So they're going to be doing Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, and All Out in Chicago. Now, this is not the first time they've done a slew of events in Chicago this year, and it just seems like they're going back to Chicago a lot. I wanted to know, do you believe that AEW runs Chicago too much?
Oh yeah. It's unfair because I think it would help if they, try bouncing around to different states and
Yeah.
interact with different stadiums and whatnot. I would think that with him having the power that he has, the money that he has, why would you not want to expand your fan base? Because
Mm-hmm.
now you're forcing people to travel a lot just to watch your shows. Of course, yes, you could wait till the pay-per-view, but if you're gonna have weekly events and stuff like that, so not weekly events, you're going to have your pay-per-views. I feel like it's only fair that you try to at least bounce around, or at least do most of the major cities. But it
Mm.
feels like he goes to Chicago constantly for both Dynamites and for a lot of the pay-per-views. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's cool, it's great. I'm pretty sure it's brewing for something else, but the place is still fairly new. Like
Mm.
AEW is still fairly new. I feel like you should just sprinkle yourself a little bit of everywhere. But
Mm.
I haven't really heard fans complaining too much about it.
Mm.
So I don't know, what do you think does that mean?
I don't think that the fans are going to say too much, especially those in Chicago, because Chicago is a wrestling city. But I just hope that AEW doesn't have like the Vegas curse where like a market just gets absolutely plowed with the same type of event for months and months and months and months on end. And then when they go back there for shows, now the market is like burnt out. Um, Sometimes I do think that AEW runs Chicago too much because it's like every time you turn around, they're in Chicago. You know what I
Like,
mean?
do
And
you
I
feel
feel like there's
special?
other, huh?
It's like they don't make Chicago feel special anymore.
They don't, and I feel like they've. I mean, it also does not feel like Jacksonville was home for AEW. It feels like Chicago was the home for AEW. You know what I mean? Like there was a point in time where like Chicago was special, but if we talk about AEW and we're talking about cities affiliated with AEW, we were talking about Jacksonville. We were talking about Daly's Place. And
Mm-hmm.
now it doesn't feel like that anymore. I don't know if it's because there's some venue things going on, but it just doesn't feel like Jacksonville is the home for AEW anymore. And I think that that's a problem, especially when the entire company is pretty much based out of there, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that they are running Chicago a little bit too much. It's becoming a bit excessive.
Where else would you like to see them go?
Philly. Philly. They could do Philly a little bit more. They can do LA a lot more. They can do Phoenix. They
How many
can
times have
do
they came to New York?
they just for the Grand Slams, really. They
Hmm.
could do New York. They could do Atlanta. Atlanta is another big wrestling city. They've done DC a lot. Um, I think they're going back to Boston to do the Garden for Blood and Guts. But yeah, there are more than enough cities that you can go to. Even if they didn't, they do New York a little bit. They've done Dynamite a bunch at like UBS, so they've done that. So I can't even complain about. But like, there's so many other cities that you can go to that are great wrestling cities. Granted, they may not be as good as Chicago, but if you want to retain the specialness and the like mystique around Chicago, just do it a little bit less. It's becoming excessive, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that concludes that. If you think that AEW runs Chicago too much, let us know in the comments below. But we're going to move